a gentleman immediately offered to start a website for supersized plus-size women, for the ones that have been rejected from a plus-size website.
Right.
And it, it seems to be throwing the snowball effect of like what apparently everything is considered beautiful to someone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But at what point is it considered unhealthy to make it a popular thing to show off? You know what I'm saying?
I think so. I don't think that any unless a fetish or a preference is physically harmful to someone. I mean, a rape fetish would probably not be a healthy fetish, right? Or like whatever, eating flesh would not be a healthy fetish. But beyond that, I don't think there's anything unhealthy about any sexual preference or fetish. Obviously, with heavier people, there's a certain set of health problems that person may incur because of being large, but there's a certain amount of health problems that you'll incur from being 80 pounds as well, so it goes both ways. And I think that, the classification of people based on their size or whatever, it's really similar to the classification based on race or age. People would argue that like chubby girls are going to be unhealthy, but like black people are going to be unhealthy too. You know what I mean? It's, white people are going to be unhealthy too. Exactly. So it really just boils down to individuality, and if that individual is healthy and the person that's into that individual is healthy, and then everything's cool. But genre classification is enormous because we live in a capitalist society that's all about marketing everything and selling everything. It's just like in the music business, you have to be classified as one specific thing or else you will not sell a CD. And I've always hated that.
Did you come across that a lot?
Yeah, I think so. And as an artist, like for me, I don't have one particular style of art that I like more than anything else. And I do a lot of everything. And even in the tattoo world, like if you're not the guy that does this, that, or the other, you're kind of looked at like an anomaly.
If you don't have one certain style to define you, it's hard to make a name for yourself?
Absolutely. Everybody's like, well, what do you do? Are you a traditional guy? Or are you this? Are you that? Or are you that? I was like, well, I like everything.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah. And, it's totally propagated by our marketing system. The term plus size exists to let girls know that our sizes start at this and go to this, and that's where it should end, you know what I mean? To say that somebody is this, that, or the other based on their girth or mass is kind of retarded, but there again, if it becomes an empowering thing, then I'm all for it, if a girl has spent her life feeling less worthy because she doesn't look like model A, B, or C, and then she finds out that there's a website for chubby girls or BBW girls or this girl or that girl, whatever, and she fits into that genre, that niche, then she might as well take advantage of it and use it. I'm getting a phone call. I should turn that off.
Do you find that there's a difference tattooing larger people or smaller people?
There can be. Both have their pros and cons. A smaller person obviously has less skin. That's a con in my opinion. I can do less on their skin. Also, if they're really bony, they have a lot of hollow areas in their body, like around the
joints,
clavicles and joints and stuff. It's hard to tattoo. Bigger people are generally easier to tattoo. One of the only things, if you get into like a really, really soft tissue area, like under the arm or something like that, where it's more just fat. Those areas can be a little bit more tricky if you don't know what you're doing. Like when I first started tattooing, I would do a lot of those kind of tattoos, and the lines would get blown out and look bad. And you know, initially you go to the fact that it's that person's fault, but it's really that you weren't used to tattooing that kind of soft skin. You know, eventually anything is possible. I would say that the biggest cross section of my clientele is big people, and the biggest portion of that is women. Like, I have a lot of women that I tattoo, and 90% of them would be considered plus size or super plus size, and I absolutely love tattooing them. They can get a bigger, nicer tattoo. Their skin is usually very soft, and receiving, they usually heal well. The only time you might find a big person that doesn't heal well is if they also have like the diabetes or something like that that may sometimes go along with that. And even then, it's sort of a matter of just, you know, discussing in advance what their situation is, and then knowing what to do to combat that. You know, with diabetes, there's certain people with certain kind of diabetes that just shouldn't get tattooed. They're not going to heal well, and it's going to look bad. But generally, even then, it's just going to take a little longer to heal, and they're going to have to take care of it a little longer. They're going to need to keep up on the cleanliness and the lotion and all that kind of stuff. It may be worse below the knees because of circulation and things like that. So you take those things into consideration, and then it's, you know.
I'm a member of a tattoo website, and they had forums, you know, with artists and enthusiasts and everything, and I saw a posting by an artist who was generally ranting about the idea that larger people getting small tattoos annoy him.
Yeah, you know, it comes down to personal preference for that person. We as tattoo artists are sort of trained to see things a certain way, and we want to take up a certain amount of body with the tattoo for design purposes. If you wanted to get a teeny tiny tattoo right there, cool. I like tattoos that are like bigger than your body, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, there is something silly about somebody that's like you see the guy that's got like enormous arms with like this tiny little rose on his arm or something. That's like.
In the end, would you say, okay, I'll do it if that's what you want?
Yeah, I would discuss it with him and tell him.
It's pretty client driven.
Yeah. I don't generally turn people down so much. You know, I'll discuss the pros and cons of the situation with them and give them my input. Generally, they take the artist's input.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes somebody will want a teeny tiny tattoo, not because that's what they want, but because that's what they can afford. You know, so for a person like that, you figure out a way to make the larger tattoo either more affordable by breaking it up into sessions, or you know, tell them to go home and save their money and come back when they can get something it's an impressive tattoo.
It's worth waiting for what you really want.
Yeah, but if they're not looking to impress anybody and it's what they want something that's the size of a pea.
Well, I know plenty of women that, you know, they've got, you know, one single rose on their shoulder, butt or whatever, and that's all they ever really want.
Yep, and that's absolutely fine.
And, you know, whether that's on a bigger woman or a smaller woman, I don't think really should matter too much.
No, it shouldn't.
When it comes to preferences of tattoos, people don't generally go, okay, this is how big I am.
Right.
This is how big my art should be.
Yeah.
And something really bugged me about the way he put it. You know, he really was trying to say that, you know, if you're bigger, you should have bigger work, period. And that's it.
Yeah.
Not taking into consideration, you know, that person's personality, that person.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people can't do this because of their job, you know.
Sure.
It's unfortunate, but it's the way it is.
Yeah, I think a lot of tattoo artists get into a mindset that they're the expert and they're the tastemaker and they know what's right and what's wrong, and they're gonna develop an opinion based on that. And like, I'm just not that way. Like,
That must be why you're so popular.
Probably helps. But some of those guys, I mean, they're guys that only do one kind of tattooing, and they will tell you to fuck off if you don't get what they want or how they want it, and if you want something in an area that they don't think, you know, it shouldn't go there or whatever, like, And that's their right to do that too.
I've seen that happen, and I always think that it's probably an insecurity on the artist's part, but they say no, there's nothing